I want to be happy, and I want my life to have meaning and fulfillment. How can I achieve these things? The author of Ecclesiastes gives a simple but powerful answer. Let's get into it. He writes, "Vanity of vanities, all is vanity. What does man gain by all the toil at which he toils under the sun? A generation goes and a generation comes, but the earth remains forever." And that's the setup for the book. The earth remains forever. It is this solid line. We are what come and go. Some lives are longer than others, some are shorter, but they all have a beginning and an end. And my question as I read Ecclesiastes is, how should I best spend my time? Because I want to have lasting fulfillment and meaning in my life, but I also know at the same time my life will end. So how should I best spend the time that I have been given? So what I'm going to first do is walk through what the author of Ecclesiastes says I should not be doing with my time, and then finish with what he says I should do. What is the best that I can possibly do? So let's get into it. The first warning he gives is that the eye is not satisfied with seeing, nor the ear filled with hearing. And my understanding of this verse is that my senses always crave novelty, which I think is true. And because they always crave novelty, that means that they can only be temporarily satisfied. If I want that lasting meaning and fulfillment that I'm looking for, something deeper is needed. Another vain attempt at meaning and fulfillment would be striving for popularity or remembrance. The author says, "There is no remembrance of former things, nor will there be any remembrance of later things yet to be among those who come after." And so even if I achieve enormous success and am remembered as a historical figure, if I'm dead, to me it makes really no difference. And so striving for remembrance or popularity from those who themselves will not be remembered is a vain attempt at meaning. Next, the author writes, "It is an unhappy business that God has given to the children of man to be busy with." In some translations, it is a burden that God has given to the children of man. And I take comfort in this verse because it means I should not be discouraged by hardship, nor should I expect to be happy all of the time. That's simply not going to happen because life is difficult. So I should manage my expectations accordingly. Next, there is riches and possessions. I feel like in our society, that is something that is at the forefront of our culture, and it's something that I have sought for with earnest in my own life. But the author makes an important point. He says, "When I die, I must leave it, everything I've accomplished or accumulated, to the man who will come after me. And who knows whether he will be wise or a fool. Yet he will be master of all for which I have toiled and used my wisdom under the sun. This also is vanity." And this is important to me to keep in perspective what I can gain by my work. Anything above and beyond what I need in my daily life will simply be given to another when I pass. So when I die, anything that I've accumulated is no longer mine. It is given to someone else. It is therefore futile to store up possessions beyond what I need, and is another vain attempt at meaning and fulfillment. So the author has so far pointed out the vanity of several things. Sensory experience, which can only bring temporary satisfaction. Being remembered by and popular amongst our peers, who they themselves will be forgotten. Constant happiness, which is impossible because life is hard. And immense wealth and the storing up of possessions, which will simply be given to another person when I die. But to conclude chapter 2, the author finally gives a positive solution to what I should do with my time. He writes, "There is nothing better for a person than that he should eat and drink and find enjoyment in his toil." And in the Bible, eating and drinking is often done with family and friends, and I think that's what the author has in mind here. Not just eating and drinking for the sake of eating and drinking, but doing it with friends and family. But there's an important nuance that I want to point out here. Simply eating and drinking and enjoying time with family and friends is not enough to be happy. In chapter 6, the author points out that if a man fathers 100 children and lives many years, so that the days of his years are many, but his soul is not satisfied with life's good things, I say that a stillborn child is better off than he. And here's the difference. You can take two people and give them the exact same goods in life. They can both be wealthy, they can both have family and friends, they can live a long life, yet one person may be satisfied, the other may be not. Because satisfaction ultimately is a choice. I can choose whether or not I will be satisfied and content with my life. And as long as I have enough wealth and I have family around me, friends, and years of my life remaining, then I can make that decision to be satisfied. And as the author later writes in chapter 9, he says, "Go, eat your bread with joy, and drink your wine with a merry heart, for God has already approved what you do." Enjoy life with a wife whom you love all the days of your vain life that he has given you under the sun, because that is your portion in life and in your toil at which you toil under the sun. And he adds one more line to this. He says, at the end of the matter, fear God and keep his commandments, for this is the whole duty of man. And so my conclusion is that the best I can do in life, the best use of this little time that I've been given, is to eat and drink with family and friends, to be merry, enjoy my work, and to fear God and keep his commandments. That is my takeaway from Ecclesiastes. And thanks so much for watching. There are a few other verses that I'm quickly highlighting because I found them helpful and I wanted to share with you. The first is in chapter 3, verse 19. For what happens to the children of man and what happens to the beasts is the same. As one dies, so dies the other. They all have the same breath. All are from the dust, and to dust all return. My takeaway from this was to be humble. My life is incredibly fragile, and I take it for granted that I will have my next breath. But there's no guarantee that I will have that next breath, and I'm no better in that regard than even any of the animals who depend on the same air that I do, and also depend on their very next breath. Next is in chapter 7, verse 9. The author writes, be not quick in your spirit to become angry, for anger lodges in the heart of fools. This verse stood out to me as well because there are times in the past where I feel like I've been wronged. But for me to still be angry about that after the fact, when there's nothing left to be done, simply harms me rather than helps me. And so it's better for me to let go of that anger than keep it lodged in my heart. And this is not an altruistic exercise. I'm not letting go of this anger for the benefit of the other person. I'm letting go of this anger for the benefit of myself, because it will bring me more peace and contentment with life. And lastly, chapter 7, verse 21. Do not take to heart all the things that people say, lest you hear your servant cursing you. Your heart knows that many times you yourself have cursed others. And my takeaway here is that I should not be horrified if I hear something bad that someone has said behind my back, because I know that I have cursed others just as badly and just as personally. Let me know in the comments if you found Ecclesiastes helpful and how you think about how you should spend your time, and if you've picked up any tidbits of knowledge that you think will make a difference in your life. If you do, great. That is the ultimate goal of this channel, is to study philosophy, take what we can learn from it to apply to our own lives today to live better lives. If that's something you're interested in, then subscribe to follow along, and I hope to see you in the next episode.